Hello and welcome to Nature with Gabe, the channel that connects you to nature and incredible people just like yourself. Today I'm doing some winter birding and I'm going to be sharing some tips with you on how you might be able to get more out of your winter birding experience and just set yourself up for even better birding come springtime. So it's mid-January and it's that time of year when birders really find it tough to pull themselves out of bed in the morning. Christmas bird counts are over. There's not super good motivation. The weather is usually chilly, but there are a lot of good reasons to go out birding during the winter time, seeing different birds, looking at habitat in different ways, and we're gonna get into more details in this video. The first tip I want to share is to take advantage of the changes in the season. So here in Eastern North America, the leaves fall from most of our trees and you can see a lot further. You get really good looks at a lot of birds. And so if you're into bird photography, you can get a lot of practice photographing birds and not have to worry about those leaves that are blocking your shot. But my favorite part about the fact that there are very few leaves on trees this time of year is scouting habitat. You get to find a bunch of great places for later on in the year that you can explore, and even within your local birding patch, which you might feel like you know really well, you'd be surprised the small areas you could find, little drainage ditch or something like that, that might yield some interesting birds or observations later on in the year. Even while you're driving, you can be on the lookout for great habitat. This wetland right back here is actually something that I found just while driving down the road. I saw some water through the trees in the distance and I was like, that could be some good habitat. So I went back, pulled over and walked out, and this is an amazing wetland yielding a bunch of really neat species. I had a very large count of wood ducks here a couple years ago. It was like 20 something wood ducks, which is a lot for this area of Georgia. And so yeah, there's great habitat to be found and awesome little tiny nooks and crannies within different places that can enrich your birding experience, and you can revisit during other times of year and find all sorts of stuff. So definitely take advantage of the fact that you can see a lot further through the trees, and take your time to carefully look around and see what you might be able to find, even in an area that you feel like you know really well. I started off my morning birding by visiting some wetlands that I had found just by driving along the road and realizing that they were there, or they were bigger than I thought they were. And I had a lot of success. I found northern shovelers at a spot that I'd never seen them before, an awesome duck with a really funky bill that gives it its name. Had some great egrets, which are rare this time of year in this area. Bunch of blackbirds. It's really neat to see how behavior changes throughout the year, and blackbirds come and flock in large groups. Had rusty blackbirds, grackles, and red-winged blackbirds. So yeah, this morning was actually a lot of fun. In that same wetland, I saw some swamp sparrows, common yellowthroat, which is another small bird that's not very often seen this time of year around here. I had a red-tailed hawk that was carrying some kind of prey item and flew up into a tree. I couldn't tell what it was, but it's always cool to see any predation behavior in the wild. The next tip I wanted to share is to be on the lookout for cavities. This is a great time of year, like I said, when the leaves are off the trees, to be looking at the trees and the wood and the shape and looking for holes where birds might nest in the future. Some birds build new nests or excavate new cavities every year, and some take advantage of cavities that are already in existence. There's a downy woodpecker right there, and I think that's one of the species that builds a new cavity pretty much every year. But looking around for cavities just like this one and remembering where they are can be a great way come springtime to get some awesome observations of birds that are using these cavities. And yeah, you get to observe some amazing natural history, life history, as the birds bring food to their young and raise young. And so definitely be on the lookout for cavities while you have the opportunity to, and remember where some of those are, and come springtime you're gonna have some awesome observations to make. Now earlier I mentioned this time of year is great because there's not many leaves on the trees and such, and so you can see further. But here in the southeast, a really good way to find and pick out and learn non-native invasive species is walk around this time of year through the winter and look to see what is green, because a lot of our non-native invasive stuff is green this time of year. Right behind me there's English ivy blanketing the ground, there's Chinese privet, there's bush honeysuckle, there's Japanese honeysuckle. So there's lots of non-natives that you can learn this time of year, and then you could pull those out of your backyard and start to plant natives, and you'll get a lot more wildlife and have a much better experience and be helping birds and wildlife all over the place. The next tip I have is to pay attention to differences in vocalization that you get this time of year versus other times of the year. Specifically, pay attention more to chip notes. You can really tune into different chip notes and start to learn birds just by their chips, which can be really difficult, but winter is a great time to practice that. With sparrows, I've been paying attention a lot to that. Trying to identify swamp sparrow chips, pretty distinct, song sparrow chips, pretty distinct, and just listening and paying attention to the differences in the sounds. What was that? But yes, also differences in behavior. Like I said, some birds flock in large groups this time of year. A lot of birds do. In order to stay protected and have more eyes looking out for predators, but also they don't have to worry about competition for breeding right now, and so they are much more likely to stay together as a flock. And so looking at the differences in behaviors during the winter can be another way to enrich your birding this time of year. Alright, I hope those tips were helpful, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any winter birding tips. Leave them down in the comments below, and yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Like and subscribe, it would really mean a lot. And lastly, remember, nature is powerful, and so are you. Have a great day.